There are so many people who can contribute to our fights, and activists sometimes they feel lonely in their fight against tyranny, and I'm fortunate enough to see that this community of Bitcoiners is so big, and there is so much help from people around me, from developers, from those who create privacy tools.
Tell us about your journey as an activist, and also how did Bitcoin come into it?
I'm originally from Russia. I'm a Russian political activist, and now I live in exile because 7 years ago I joined the Anti-Corruption Foundation, the leading opposition power of Russia, the organization that was founded by Alexei Navalny. And I started there, and I'm still managing financial operations at the organization. And working in Russia, making financial transactions in Russia, sometimes it's very hard to operate with the banking system because Russian banking system is fully controlled by the government, fully transparent to the government. And Russian government is quite often using it as a tool against activists, against freedom fighters. And at the Anti-Corruption Foundation, we began using Bitcoin in 2016, and it was always our plan B in our work. Especially at the moments when our bank accounts were shut down, we could still continue operating thanks to Bitcoin. And eventually I decided that I have a lot of great experience using Bitcoin as a nonprofit organization, and I decided that I can share this experience with other freedom fighters because Russian organization is not the only one that is suffering from government surveillance. This is something that is happening to activists all over the world. And that is why I joined the Human Rights Foundation, where I work as a nonprofit Bitcoin adoption lead. So basically, I educate activists, nonprofit organizations, journalists, and everyone else who is suffering from government's surveillance over their financial transactions. I teach them how to use financial privacy tools, such as Bitcoin, in order to continue their fight against tyranny and dictatorships.
How can you demonstrate to freedom fighters around the world that Bitcoin could be useful for them?
Yes, unfortunately, those negative narratives exist around Bitcoin, and sometimes it doesn't take much to change their minds. As for me, I just share a couple of personal stories, and it's enough to convince people that Bitcoin is a powerful tool for freedom fighters. For example, I say that since Russia is under financial sanctions because Putin invaded Ukraine, it's not possible to make financial transactions to Russia anymore because the country is cut off from the global financial system. And I'm saying I'm an activist in exile, and I need to make some money transfers to Russia to support my family who still lives there. And I use Bitcoin in order to help my mom. And this is actually something that people don't think about usually, especially in the countries where they are financially privileged, they have access to strong currencies, and they don't think that these kind of problems exist. Also, I sometimes describe the work the Anti-Corruption Foundation is doing in exile, and that we receive donations from our Russian donors. And if our donors support our organization openly with the banking system, for example, they risk to be imprisoned up to 8 years for making a single donation to us because we're labeled as an extremist organization in Russia. And I say for one donation in rubles, you will be imprisoned for 8 years. For a donation in Bitcoin, you will stay safe and free. And it's immediately changes people's minds. And it's just a couple of stories, but I have hundreds of such stories because now I collaborate with activists from all over the world. And I know so many stories from Venezuela, from Afghanistan, from Cuba, from so many places with authoritarian regimes. And many people are today deprived of access to fiat, or for them it's dangerous to use fiat. And sometimes it's enough just to tell a couple of such stories, and people realize it's an eye-opening thing for them, not only because they are mostly they are not convinced that Bitcoin is for criminals. Mostly they just don't know that there is another side of this topic. So sometimes you can just tell your story and it's enough.
How do your principles as an activist align with the values that Bitcoin offers?
Um, so as an activist, we always protect freedoms, right? We fight for freedoms, and we protect such freedoms as freedom of speech or freedom of assembly. But I believe that financial freedom is also one of the crucial human rights, and it's very much underrated. So I think that Bitcoin simply provides this as a tool of financial freedom. And this is how it's aligned. It's one of the crucial human rights. It's one of the freedoms that I'm fighting for. And I believe that people equally must have access to money. But unfortunately, because of some oppressive regimes, people just don't have access to it. And Bitcoin provides this access. Bitcoin gives an opportunity to people like me. And it's a crucial human right. And that is why it's aligned with my views.
What would you say is the biggest advantage of implementing Bitcoin as an activist?
The biggest advantage is simply that you can continue doing your work even if you don't have access to your bank accounts, which happened to us many times. It is the simplest method for oppressive regimes to stop opposition movements from doing their work, because some people don't even realize it, that an opposition movement is like just any other business. You pay salaries, you pay some bills, you pay rent, you make so many payments, and you simply need money to do that, to maintain the structure. And I would say that Bitcoin was a solution for us when we didn't have access to money and we could continue doing our work. It's one side, and another is, of course, privacy. Bitcoin protects our donors. Bitcoin protects our employees because we pay salaries to some of our employees in Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is also borderless money. You can support someone. You can provide financial support to activists on the ground in some countries where it's dangerous to receive support. So basically, there are so many advantages because Bitcoin is not visible for oppressive regimes. Bitcoin transactions are not visible. They cannot stop it. And of course, because it's borderless, unstoppable, and we can continue doing our work.
What are the main challenges when activists start using Bitcoin?
The main challenge is education, because everyone knows that Bitcoin exists, but most of the people don't know how to use it, or they don't know how to use it properly, how to use safety tools. And this is what I see now when we receive Bitcoin donations, and people don't donate just because they think that it is too complicated to learn Bitcoin. There is prejudice that Bitcoin is a very complicated technology, and this is something that stops people from using it. I see it as a main challenge that I'm trying to fight against. I mean, I provide Bitcoin education to activists, and one of my goals right now is to make education as simple as possible. Because yes, there are so many amazing tools like CoinJoin that we discussed previously, or different types of wallets, self-custody, and all other amazing Bitcoin tools. But if you just take all this knowledge and put it to a person who never heard about it before, who never used Bitcoin before, they just get scared that it's too complicated and they don't want to start using it. And I'm trying to take all this knowledge, all the information that I have, reorganize it to make it as simple as possible for people to digest it. And I think only this way we will boost Bitcoin adoption amongst activists.
What are the main concerns from activists that adopt Bitcoin?
Of course, one of the main concerns is privacy of their financial transactions, because even when sending money with Bitcoin, they're still afraid that it could be dangerous, and they want to learn more about additional extra layers of privacy. And it's still something that activists are thinking about. And yes, as you said, that most of most of dictatorships, they act the same way. They use same tools. They use surveillance over the banking system everywhere in the world. And yes, one of the concerns is how to use Bitcoin in a safe way. And even those who already know how to use it, they're still afraid. And of course, one of the main requests that I receive from my students is, okay, I have my first Bitcoin, but how am I going to use it in my country? How am I going to convert it into local currency? And sometimes this is a real challenge. In some regions, it's really hard to off-ramp. And even using Bitcoin, people still have many fears of volatility, fears of privacy, and this concern about off-ramp solutions. So those are main questions, main challenges that we have to overcome. We have to explain what to do, how to do it properly, and we try to find a solution for them so that they don't have to convert Bitcoin into local currencies. We try to find a solution how they actually can use Bitcoin in their work and life.
What are some elements that freedom activists value but Bitcoin tools are missing?
Yeah, there are many tools in the Bitcoin world. Sometimes I get lost. There are so many, and every day they get updated. But even if there are hundreds of different wallets right now, it's still hard, for example, to find a wallet for my educational needs. I provide a Bitcoin webinar at the Human Rights Foundation, and webinar is very limited in time, and I need to find a perfect Lightning wallet to teach my attendees how to use Lightning transactions. And basically, I need a wallet that works really fast, that doesn't require any additional steps, and such wallet simply doesn't exist, or it exists but it doesn't work properly. And I'm still trying to find a proper tool just for educational purposes. So I would say that besides that, one of the problems is that most of the tools are not translated into different languages. And I think that sometimes Bitcoin developers, they create tools for Bitcoiners, for other Bitcoiners, or only for English-speaking audience. And I think that they should think more about end users. They should think more about those who never used Bitcoin before, because if you download a wallet and it says something like get your first sats, and as a new user, you don't even know what sats is. And people get afraid of using new technologies, and they simply give up because they think it's too complicated, when in reality it's very easy. And I think that's one of the main things developers must take into consideration, is to make tools as simple as possible for new users, and especially for people from different countries with different languages. But generally, we have, I think, even more than we need right now. We have so many different options for privacy. We have so many different options for self-custody. It's just, I think that all of those options must keep updated and must be tailored to the needs of those who simply never used Bitcoin before.
How can we onboard developers to build the tools that freedom fighters actually need?
I think that those developers who realize how helpful their tools for people like me, for freedom fighters, if they get inspired by our stories, that's great, and by hearing my story, they can realize that their tool is a lifesaver for my people, and when getting inspired, they can tailor their tools for my needs. So I think that developers should think more about what's their purpose of their tool, who is the final user of their tool. If they want to contribute to a bigger cause, not just to develop a wallet and make money out of your business, but if you want to contribute to the global fight against tyranny, you can just add a bit more efforts and create your tool more accessible for people in different countries with different languages. But generally, I think it's up to every developer, up to every business. But my personal goal is to deliver this stories of activists and freedom fighters to as many people as I can. That is why I'm here. And I'm going to speak here at the conference about importance of Bitcoin education for activists. And I hope to inspire more developers here to create some simple tools for my people.
Do you think that a lack of internet connection or hardware limitations could slow Bitcoin adoption among freedom fighters?
No, I don't think that those challenges will slow the adoption because the demand for Bitcoin is very high, and people always find a way how to overcome those challenges. For example, there are amazing tools exist for Bitcoin without internet. If you don't have access to internet, you can still use Bitcoin with those wallets, which is amazing. And that means that people find solution even for those areas where there is no internet. But unfortunately, of course, there will be always people fighting against Bitcoin or trying to regulate or ban to make Bitcoin illegal. And we will have to just put more efforts into trying to convince the world that Bitcoin is a big deal for better causes. It's a very important technology for freedom fighters, for those who are trying to make the world a better place, for those who try to build democracies in the world. And that is very important. And they shouldn't forget about good causes when they try to judge or ban Bitcoin.
After years combining both activism and Bitcoin, what have you learned?
What have I learned? I learned that there are so many people who can contribute to our fight, and activists sometimes they feel lonely in their fight against tyranny, and I'm fortunate enough to see that this community of Bitcoiners is so big, and there is so much help from people around me, from developers, from those who create privacy tools, and I learned that we're not alone and we shouldn't give up because there is so much help coming, and I'm happy that I can bring this knowledge to those activists who don't know about it, because there are so many activists who feel frustrated. They think that their bank accounts are shut down and they have to stop doing their work. They have to shut down their legal entity because they cannot operate. And I am happy that I can bring this knowledge to them. I can explain to them that there is a big community who is ready to support you. And I'm proud to work with the Human Rights Foundation, where I can reach those difficult regions and bring this knowledge to them and help them continue their fights.
Beyond donations and funding, how can the Bitcoin community support the Anti-Corruption Foundation and HRF?
Bitcoin community can contribute in so many ways. Just spreading the stories that I am telling here, it's very beneficial for us. It will fight against those bad narratives about Bitcoin, and it will probably boost Bitcoin adoption, just because someone will tell that Russian activists use Bitcoin to fight against Putin's regime, and it can help. It can contribute to Bitcoin adoption. If you are a developer, you can create so many amazing tools if you just keep in mind that activists using your tools, and we need privacy for our financial transactions. If you want to contribute in any other way, just reach out to me, and I'll be so happy to receive your help. We can collaborate on Bitcoin education. There are so many ways how to help me with that. We can translate my materials into different languages to help more people. Just reach out to me, and we will definitely find a way how we can collaborate.
Is this your first time in Lugano?
Yes, it's my first time in Lugano.
Have you bought anything with Bitcoin in Lugano?
Not yet, but I'm excited to try, and I heard that there are many vendors, many merchants, not only here at the conference, but in the city, and I'm really excited to see it and try it.
What do you like the most of Lugano?
Nature, it's amazing here, even if it's raining these days, still I find it very beautiful.
Have you been to other Bitcoin circular economies?
No, not really. I've been to many conferences. At some conferences, I could pay with Bitcoin, but I never really lived in a country where it's possible.
What is your take on Tether's growth these past 10 years?
I mean, this tool is very useful, even, for example, for my work, for activists that I'm educating. I educate activists how to incorporate Bitcoin technology in their work, but sometimes they are asking me, like, what are other solutions, what can help them with Bitcoin's volatility or something like that. And I provide them solutions like stable coins in order to avoid this problem. So I think that those two can work perfectly well together.